It's insulting to hear him run down by people who have given a fraction of his sacrifice to this rebellion.
Enough!
This is Andor, what I thought was just another mediocre Star Wars show. And I've never been a huge Star Wars fan, so for 3 years I avoided it. But I was wrong, because when I finally gave season 1 a chance, I was hooked. So then I binged season 2. I wanted to see why people claim that Andor is one of the best TV series of all time, because my goal was to answer if season 2 is actually better than season 1, and should anyone else even watch Andor if they don't care about Star Wars. So let me tell you about my experience with Andor season 2.
Come to the rebellion.
What?
So what is Andor? It's a prequel to Rogue One, the Star Wars movie, but you don't need to know anything about Star Wars to enjoy it. It follows Cassian Andor, a man who is destined to become a rebel hero. The show's a mix between a slow burn political drama and a spy thriller, with great writing. Like The Wire or Better Call Saul, it's patient storytelling that rewards your attention. So if you haven't seen season 1 yet, do yourself a favor and watch it. But here's the gist. Season 1 shows you how Cassian joins the rebellion in their fight against the evil Empire, and season 2 raises the stakes. The rebellion is forming, the Empire is cracking down, and everything's getting darker. Like season 1, season 2 started slowly. But after 3 episodes, I was hooked. And that was all because of 2 scenes. The scenes when I knew season 2 was going to be something special. Neither scene had a lightsaber fight or a big action moment. The first is something you can probably relate to: having an uncomfortable dinner with your family. Cyril, one of the show's villains, invites his terrifying mom to dinner to meet his fascist girlfriend, Deidre. And if you think your mom is judgmental, just wait until you meet her. She's cold, controlling, and always undermines Cyril. Even Darth Vader would have his hands full with her. But for once, she meets her match with Deidre. At dinner, Cyril's mom tries to guilt Deidre by mentioning her tragic family backstory. Her husband left her when Cyril was young, but Deidre one-ups her with an even darker one.
I don't have one. My parents were criminals. They were arrested when I was 3.
So she was raised in an imperial kinderblock. It's quite the fairy tale. The mom is speechless, and Cyril is mortified. It was hilarious. Seeing Cyril's mom get completely owned by Deidre was so satisfying. Andor is primarily a drama, but I liked how it sprinkled in funny moments like this throughout the show. It's a nice break from the constant tension, but there was nothing funny about the second scene that hooked me. It's about Mon Mothma, a senator who's secretly funding the rebellion. All her donations to the rebellion make her bank accounts look pretty sus, so she needs an influx of money to cover her tracks. Luckily, there's one man who can help: a shady banker named Davos Skolden. He offers to provide the necessary funds, but his help comes at a heavy cost. Mon must pawn off her 13-year-old daughter in an arranged marriage to Skolden's 14-year-old son. And obviously, Mon feels guilty about this, especially because she herself was forced into an arranged marriage. And now she's stuck in an unhappy marriage. Her husband is great at giving wedding speeches, but other than that, he kinda sucks. But Mon doesn't have a choice. She goes through with the arranged marriage for the good of the rebellion. But then things get worse. Mon might have to kill her childhood friend. That friend is Tay, a banker who helped Mon launder the rebellion money. Tay is really putting his neck on the line to help Mon. And what does he get in return? His wife leaves him because there are rumors he's having an affair with Mon, and his investments have lost a lot of money because of the rebellion. So now he's threatening to blackmail Mon. Mon wants to wait and try to reason with him, but Luthen, the rebellion's shadowy mastermind, has another idea, if you know what I mean. So between secretly helping the rebellion, having a stressful Senate job, an unhappy marriage, a daughter who hates her, and knowing her childhood friend might be assassinated later that night, Mon has a lot on her plate, which is why the next scene was so fun to watch. While at the wedding, we see Mon, a politician who's always prim, proper, and professional, do something you wouldn't expect. She starts throwing back shots and getting messy drunk. Then she lets loose on the dance floor and dances her butt off to the EDM song of the summer. It's the backstory you never knew you wanted, and it makes you appreciate all the personal sacrifices this character has had to make for the good of the rebellion. I like these two scenes because they were relatable. It was a nice change of pace compared to all the lightsaber fights and the space battles we usually get. So after these scenes in the first 3 episodes, I was hooked. I binged the rest of season 2 in one day, and it just kept getting better. And there was one thing I didn't expect to like as much as I did: the side characters. Now obviously, Cassian Andor is the main character in Andor. He and Diego Luna are great, but the supporting cast is equally as strong. You've got Luthen, the rebel puppet master lurking in the shadows, played by Stellan Skarsgård. Saul Guerrera, the unhinged extremist, played by Forrest Whitaker. Dedra, the terrifyingly competent Imperial agent. And of course, Mon Mothma, who we've already talked about. But to me, the two characters who completely stole the show in season 2? Cyril and Clea. Neither had much screen time in season 1, especially Clea, but season 2 gave them their chance to shine. Cyril is the character I related to the most, not because I have a toxic mom. Mom TV Guide is great, but because we actually have a lot in common. We both like to cook. We're extremely neat and particular, and we both have had to hunt down a dangerous rebel terrorist to preserve the safety of the Galactic Empire.
I'll live the Empire.
Okay, maybe not that last one, but there are some similarities. Anyway, without spoiling too much from season 1, Cyril messes up big time at work. I'm talking so bad you would have seen it on the Galactic cable news. So he gets fired, is disgraced, and has to move back in with his mom. It's rock bottom. But you can't keep a good Imperial man down. His uncle pulls some strings and lands him an Imperial office job. It's boring, bureaucratic, and of course, requires working in a cubicle. But Cyril takes his job very seriously. He manages to get promoted twice in 1 year, and he's the boss you wish you had, making your boring cubicle grunt job sound way more exciting than it actually is. He even ends up dating his season 1 crush, our favorite fascist girl, Dedra. So now, Cyril is so back. Everything is coming up Cyril. But here's the twist. Dedra might be using him to help plan a genocide, and he doesn't even realize it. Cyril is such an interesting character because even though he's one of the antagonists, the show makes you want to root for him. Even in season 1, when he's trying to catch Andor, you can see he's not a bad guy. Yes, he does have blind faith in the Empire, but he's driven by his desire for justice and to uphold the law. And this struggle between his loyalty to the Empire and his desire to do what's right is what made Cyril my favorite character arc in season 2. Now, let's talk about the side character who surprised me the most. Clea, Luthen's assistant at his antique gallery, or at least that's her cover. In season 1, she only had 12 minutes of screen time, which put her 17th in the cast. For comparison, Cyril was 4th. But when I made my video about season 1, which got 1 million views by the way, people in the comments kept mentioning Clea, saying stuff like, she's season 2's breakout star, like Harrison Ford was in the first Star Wars movie. She's now a top 3 character in Andor, and that this was actually the actress's first professional acting role. So this made me really excited to watch her in season 2. And the high IQ commenters in my video were spot on. Without spoiling too much, we get to see just how composed, calculated, and ruthless Clea really is. There's one scene, an extraction mission, where she has to remove a listening device they planted in someone's house, and she only has one chance to do this. At a dinner party filled with Imperial leaders. Failure means she and Luthen could be exposed as rebels. It's one of the most tense and nerve-wracking scenes in season 2. Later in the season, she goes on a dangerous solo mission, and she goes full-on Jason Bourne, which you would never expect. She does such a good job, the Empire thinks it was a 3-man special ops team who did it, not an assistant who works at an antique gallery. By the time you're done with Andor, you'll understand why Clea's contributions to the rebellion are just as important as Andor's, maybe even more. But we still haven't talked about what I loved the most about season 2. It's not the writing, music, production design, acting, or the unique 4-arc structure. Those are all great, and I've already talked about some of them in my season 1 review. which again got 1 million views. My favorite thing is what I think separates Andor from other shows, and that's coming up next. A lot of TV shows have an amazing first season, but then fall off after season 2. Shows like True Detective, Fargo, Westworld, and The Last of Us come to mind. And I get it. It's hard enough to make one great season of television, let alone 2. Which is exactly why Andor Season 2 was so impressive to me. Because Season 1 was already very good. Yet somehow, Season 2 was even better. And most importantly, it stuck the landing, which is something a lot of shows struggle to do. But what's even more impressive is the fact that I already knew how the story ends, because Andor leads directly into Rogue One and A New Hope. So if you've seen those movies like me, you'll probably know which characters have plot armor and which characters probably won't make it. And yet, that didn't matter. I was still on the edge of my seat the entire time, because the writing was that good. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm not even a big Star Wars fan, but watching Andor made me actually want to rewatch the movies again. Part of that is probably nostalgia, but mostly it's because Andor makes the movies better. Because for the first time, you actually see the entire chain of events that made the original trilogy possible. All the sacrifices made by countless ordinary people. The people who risked and gave their lives. The lucky breaks, the close calls. You see everything that needed to go just right for a princess, a farmer, and a smuggler to even have a shot at saving the galaxy. And when you go back and rewatch Rogue One and A New Hope, it will be an entirely new experience. Because you'll see these almost 10 and 50-year-old movies in a new light. So yes, I was wrong about Andor, but I'm glad I was. I can't believe I waited 3 years to watch this show. It's very good. I think it absolutely deserves its 8.5 IMDb rating, and I would even put it as high as an 8.7.
Calibrate your enthusiasm.
That puts it right next to some of my all-time favorites, Severance, Mad Men, and Downton Abbey. Also, the woman I live with, also known as Mrs. TV Guide, said she would watch it too, and she never watches sci-fi shows. So if you've been putting off Andor like I did, give it a chance. And if you're still watching this video, go watch my other videos. YouTube thinks you'll like the video on the screen right now.